ているよ
Hello and welcome to the start of the spring season of That Anime Pod. This is your seasonal anime recap show brought to you by That Nerdy Site. I'm your host, Christian Puente, aka Pixel Brave, and if you like what you're hearing here, you can find me on Twitter at Pixel Brave, sharing just different personal projects during this quarantine time and just general pop culture talk. You can follow this show in particular for any updates on any anime news or things that I find interesting related to anime at That Anime Pod. And then, of course, this show, again, is made possible by That Nerdy Site, which you can follow on Twitter at That Nerdy Site. You can find us there under the same name at Patreon if you'd like to contribute. And, of course, all the articles you can find at thatnerdysite.com. Lots to check out there. Lots of writing. Still stuff coming from PAX. Podcasts, just good stuff from the whole group. That's a little bit of the housekeeping. It's a new season. The new spring season of anime has started now. Goodbye to winter. There's only one more show, I think, that I'm following from the winter season, and that's 22/7. And actually, with that, let me just jump into... Well, I was going to say jump into the recap, but before I even say that, this episode, since it's a bunch of new anime, the topic of the week and the seasonal anime recap are going to be one and the same. I'm just kind of going to give my thoughts on some of the new shows that I'm starting and whether I think I might stay with them. Again, it's a new spring season. There are some returning shows, but returning shows I'll talk about next week. This week I just want to focus on the new stuff that I've been getting into. Before I jump into that, winter, there's only one more show, 22/7, that's still carrying on from the winter season. So just to touch up base on that, the idol group has been separated by the wall, and then they've all come together. It's a little predictable that as soon as, this is the way storytelling goes. You need to create conflict, and you spent the whole season getting these characters to work together, then what better obstacle to set than to split them apart and see if they can find themselves again. So there's probably one more episode, I think, left in this last winter season anime. But yeah, let's get to the new stuff. So slightly new, we have a reboot. Digimon, which I don't know if anyone here had watched Digimon when it came out on Fox Kids and stuff back in the day, but I was definitely a fan. I did not watch it the same level as Pokemon. I was trying to think about why, because I definitely remember liking Digimon a lot, and don't think there's any... I don't feel like I liked one better than the other in particular. I was definitely the demographic for it. And actually, I feel like I had a lot more connection to Digimon when it did air, because I'd had the little Digimon toys before I don't know how long the anime had been running in Japan, but before we got the show in the US, I remember seeing the Digimon toys and playing with those. They were little electronic pet devices, and you could connect them and fight, like kind of a 2D fighter kind of style across devices. And I just remember having that at school, and that was a lot of fun. And just the Digimon was always something I thought was really cool. But I think it was because the schedule of when it came on that I wasn't able to follow it to the same level as Pokemon. I don't know, maybe Pokemon just had more reruns or if it showed more times during the day. But I just know that I was able to watch Pokemon easier than it was to watch Digimon. So I remember liking it a lot growing up, but I never followed like the later spin-off series and things like that. So, but recently when they had the show Digimon Try, it was kind of a continuation. It was like years after the first Digimon series, but picking up with the same characters, and just kind of continuing that story. And I think one of the movies that is either on the way out or gonna come out or just recently came out for Digimon was kind of a closing of that whole series. And what perfect timing for this reboot, which just says, let's tell the whole story all over again. And that's seemingly what we have going on here. Yeah, so Digimon, it starts again with Tai. Well, in the English dub, they would call him Tai, but since this is currently something I'm watching Japanese, I'll try to stick to the Japanese names. But yeah, the main character, Taichi, we have the new origin. In the original Fox run, they had been going on a camping trip that ended up, I don't remember the specific events, but they ended up getting all of Taichi's class got transported to the digital world in that one. And the difference in this one, in the reboot, is that instead of well, first off, the whole class isn't even united yet right now. There's strange glitches and technical errors happening around the Tokyo area, and Tai and his I don't want to say his neighbor. I forget the name that they picked for the neighbor too. I think the last name is Izumi, which I don't think we'll be sticking with that name because I think they start adapting different names. What I mean by that is I think they start calling each other by their first names, but I can't remember his first name. But I think Izumi is who we're going with for so far. So Taichi and Izumi realize that there's weird stuff going on in the city regarding like the net and technical errors and glitches and systems. And as they try to find out what's going on, they get involved in what is this version of the Digimon adventure. In this version, it kind of reminds it's kind of like Tron-esque in that they're brought in one at a time. It seems for different scenarios, like there's a threat in the digital world, and so they get brought in. Let me just say that so far for all the shows that I'm watching this season, I'm only one episode in, so I don't know. I'm just making guesses for how the rest of the show will go. But considering that they at least showed glimpses of the other Digidestined, I'm not sure what they're going to call them in this, but back then they called them Digidestined. But yeah, so Taichi was brought in kind of Tron style. Him and Agumon met, and they fought some virus Digimon things going on there, and then they got spit back out. And so I'm thinking that's what the first couple episodes are going to be. Instead of everybody getting transported at once to the digital world, I think they'll be having these like one-off adventures, like one by one, until they come together as a team. At least that's my guess anyways. But it's cool just in general just to see updated graphics and seeing a new reboot take, like the different story choices, and just it's interesting seeing them like through fresh eyes, like because these are new animators, I'm assuming, new team, new creative production team, and so yeah, I'm curious to see how the reboot goes. I couldn't, because of the schedule, I couldn't exactly follow all of Digimon, but if it's going to be like a tighter show and properly translated, because I didn't notice back then, but upon trying to rewatch the original Fox series, I'm like, oh wow, this translation's really bad. So so I'll see how this one goes, but I'm sure it'll be good. The first episode was really cool. The animation was cool. I keep saying just the word cool, but what I mean is like all the production value was there. Like all the art was really cool. There was some decent fights for just the beginning. Already got some new transformation sequences, and yeah, so far Digimon's looking pretty good. Another one that I caught, starting with the really new stuff, no more reboots and stuff like that, is Tower of God, which is, to give a little background on this one stands out a little bit from other anime adaptations in that it's not from a manga, from what I can tell, or from what I think I heard, is that this is an anime that's based off of a Korean webtoon. To anyone who doesn't follow webtoons, it's Imagine manga, but it only get released online, in particular under a website/app called Webtoon. I think that's available on desktops and phones. Yeah, you can browse independent comics and manga, and this is adapted from one of those instead of a published like paperback manga like traditionally. And so I think a lot of eyes are on this to see if the next wave of animation stories are going to be coming from the web instead of bookshelves. But yeah, so this one's called Tower of God. I did not originally want to watch this because from like the screenshots and trailers, it just didn't look like my style, and I'm gonna say I'm pretty sure it's still not my style. But to be part of the water cooler discussion, I wanted to at least check out the first episode, just to see what's going on. And yeah, it really just it throws you in the middle of the story and it kind of just like hits the ground running. I think that's the phrase, in that, yeah, it just starts throwing lore and situations and characters without a whole lot of setup, which is fine. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think if it's done well, though, but from the get-go, you have this character, and I think his name is Bam. Again, this is episode 1 for all these shows, so I'm not sure if I'm getting these names right, but I believe his name is Bam, and the kickoff of the show is that he's trying to be reunited with a friend who has gone off, and a little bit of world building that I'll describe is that there's a tower in this world, and if you climb all the way to the top, I guess you get a wish, or it has the ability to get you whatever you want. And this girl, I think her name is on the subtitles it says Rachel, but the voice actor pronounces it Rahel. So I'm not sure which one's the right one, but I'll just say Rahel is the girl, and she's gone up to the tower, and I forget I think she said she wants to look at the stars, and so she goes up there. I might have missed a different wish that she had, but there was definitely something she wanted to do, so she goes up there, and that's when we meet our protagonist, who wants to be reunited with her. This kid named Bam. We don't know much about him other than he's just like kind of a whiny little kid, and he found himself at the beginning of the tower. You know, I guess the tower has an overseer named, oh man, what was his name? He looks like a bunny. He looks like a robotic bunny. He's very strong, apparently, though. Head On, I think his name is Head On. And he is kind of the overseer of the tower, and he meets our protagonist and says, "Hey, if you want to go up this tower, I got to get you through some tests," which then leads us to seeing this protagonist Bam, meet other characters and is put through certain challenges to try to see if he's worthy. And what I don't like so far about the story is that the characters he meets keep giving him a pass, and there's not really much of a reason for it. They just, when he needs help, they're kind of like, "Oh, well, you're kind of cute, so yeah, I guess I'll help you." But like, there's nothing wrong with that, but I just wish they would also give us like, "Oh, I can see you have tenacity," or "Oh, I can see you have good intentions." Like, I just wish there were a little bit more substance to why they would help him, other than just like, "Oh, you're cute." So it's I mean, everyone else seems really happy with the show, so maybe that's just, I'm getting hung up on small stuff. But the art style is a bit dark for me. The animation is a little bit stiff, and in general, I can tell from the third act in this first episode, it gets very violent, and I'm like, I just am honestly not that like hyped about violence or blood in anime, and this one looks like it might be just that, because I think it killed like 3 or 4 people in like the span of 1 minute at the end. So a lot of people seem really, really excited for it, so I'm going to give it another 2 episodes and see how that goes. But yeah, so far it's not exactly winning me over, but I can see how the fights might entice other viewers. And lastly, the last show that I felt like checking out was called Sing Yesterday for Me. And that's a really weird name, but it's very serious. It's a really dramatic show, and I'm really I think so far it's my favorite show of the season. Digimon's a lot of fun. I've already said Tower God just because it really isn't my speed unless it changes a lot in the next episodes. But Seeing Yesterday from the get-go is like, I find it really, I'm not sure what the word is, but it kind of hits home with a lot of personal issues. It's a dramatic, so it's not like fantasy or sci-fi. It's just a drama. It looks like a personal drama about a recent graduate who is a little hard on his luck right now, and is kind of trying to come to terms with his personal failures, like how he views himself and how he thinks other people might view him, and trying to think about the things he needs to improve about himself. And these are all very, very relatable right now. As I can relate to having a lot of similar thoughts like that. And so yeah, I think it's a really mature show. The art looks really cool. The writing, I think, is really well done. All the characters, of course, like, even though they're all like freshly graduates, just by the nature of anime, though, have just well written dialogue. And yeah, 3 is not much right now, but so far as what's available to watch, those are the only 3 that I felt like actually wanting to start. There's a lot of other shows that maybe I can go run down of like why I didn't even want to give them a shot. I can maybe describe the trailers or something next time. But yeah, so there's more shows to watch, but again, this was more of a focus on the new shows. Again, next week it'll be more of a conversation about the returning shows. So. I put out a request if anyone wanted to share what they were watching, if they were picking up any new seasonal shows, or if they were just using this quarantine downtime to catch up on older shows or rewatch stuff. And here are some of the comments. I have at Peppermint Gent says, rewatching Shaman King over here. Shaman King is one of those shows that I've always heard about, and it always looked cool, but it also looked like a really it looked like one of those longer kind of shonen animes. If it's a short season, then I might have just been like, talked myself out of it for the longest time. But it did look like a really long kind of Naruto style, Bleach style, like raw, long running shonen. So I never got into it, but I always thought the art style looked cool. Whenever I saw the manga or the anime box like at the store. So I might have to hit you up and see tell me a bit more about this Shaman King show over here. At SmathXX says, High Score Girl Season 2 is very good so far. High Score Girl is a Netflix anime, and that's why I haven't seen it so far. There's this weird mental block where I only think I can watch anime on Netflix, and even though there's so much anime on, I'm getting tongue-tied. What I mean is, like, I'm so used to just watching my anime on Crunchyroll that even though I will watch Netflix actively, I forget that I can watch anime on there too. So that's how so many good shows that I've heard great things about have gone missed by me, is just the fact that I'm not used to thinking about anime on Netflix. So yeah, I've heard a lot about High Score Girl and that it was good, so I might need to add that and train myself to finally watch Netflix. So thanks, Sam, for that. At Kumail H says, early days, but Kakushigoto and Nami Kite Kure are my picks for AOTS, which I believe is anime of the season. So Kakushigoto, I'm not watching that, but I heard about it, and it sounds funny for anyone who's not familiar with, again, I'm going to say it again, Kakushigoto. That one is a slice of life family kind of comedy. And the focus is on, I think, the school days of this daughter character and her dad. And so it's this family dynamic that's, I think the pitch is that, the funny thing about it is that the dad is a very successful, he's either an author or an illustrator or a manga writer. He's some sort of literary figure, but he's very popular because of his erotic fiction. I don't know if it's erotic or just kind of spicy or just provocative, but there's something about the way he writes, or what his material that he writes is, that makes him very famous and successful, but he doesn't want his daughter to know about it. And so I just think that's a really funny and quirky premise, but I'm kind of sheltered, and so I haven't not watched the show yet because I don't know just how spicy his material is that he's making. So maybe I'll reach out to you and say, hey, like, how much does it lean into this? If it's just kind of something that's mentioned in the background, then maybe I'll give it a show. But I'm just nervous about like it really leaning into like, oh yeah, look at this stuff, this very provocative stuff that he's making. But hey, if you say it could be anime of the show, then maybe it's anime of the season, then it could be really good. The other one you mentioned, Nami Okite Kure, for anyone who wants to find that one a little easier, the English title that's been given is Wave Listen to Me. And I've not seen this one either, but I saw a trailer for it, and it looks like it's about a DJ, a female morning radio show host. And it looks like the animation is what kept me away for this one. It looked like, and actually, like, as far as the story goes, it looks like pretty wacky and out there. But it looks like it's like rotoscoping 3D animation, like kind of not exactly what Beastars is doing, but it reminds me of it. It looks like they might have been CG animating the characters and then animating over that with traditional style. I'm not sure. I might be just talking complete nonsense, but from what I saw from the art style, that's what kind of like pushed me away from checking out that one. But I did hear it was pretty funny, but at the same time, humor is kind of like, so to make an analogy, so I feel like a blanket statement, I can kind of dig British humor. I know British humor has like a kind of a, not a, it has kind of a stereotype of like, oh, like some Americans don't get it, or some Americans don't like it, or it's too dry for them. I'm not like a big consumer. Like there's stuff I like and there's stuff I don't like. For example, I do kind of really dig like The Office, the UK Office. I like the IT Crowd. That's another sitcom from out there. Just for some more examples, but I don't really get into like Monty Python. So like there's stuff I like and there's stuff I don't like, and I feel like the reason why I go into that is because same thing with Japanese humor. There's a lot of Japanese humor that I think like I like will have me bawling and laughing, but there's also Japanese humor that just doesn't play to me in particular. And I think this one, if it's too loud and over the top, which I think this one is kind of giving me that kind of vibe, that I don't always respond to that. So that's why I didn't check one out. But you know what? I already said that I didn't really like Tower of God, and I gave it a shot anyway. So these two that you're mentioning right here, I might need to just give an episode one at least for each of those. We have all this time these days, anyways, right? So I'll let you know if I check those out. But I'm glad you mentioned them, because to know that y'all are watching them and calling them anime of the season, possibly, then that's high praise. Next up, another comment. This one's from @AndersonVAndy. Yesterday, no. Oh wait, was I already reading that one? No, I got confused. Someone else meant. Wait, I'm getting my comments mixed up. So I'm gonna. Wait, yeah. Am I getting? Oh no, because I'm reading a document here and seeing the comments seeing yesterday for me made me think that I read it already. But I'm thinking of my recap that I gave at the beginning of the show. So I guess you already know a bit that. So let me read the comment one more time and then I'll go into my thoughts. So again, this is from @AndersonVAndy. Says, yesterday wo utate, or sing yesterday for me in the English translation. He says, was a fantastic writing and unique tone. I agree. I think it's probably my anime of the season so far. It seems really mature, and like sometimes people don't like watching stuff that reminds them of themselves, especially if it points out their flaws, but sometimes I just gotta lean into that. Maybe it'll motivate me, or if I see this character come out on top, it might motivate me to put in some effort too. Anderson V. Andy continues to say, Kami no Yu, aka Tower of God, has great animation, best shonen of the season so far. I'll say I can see why a lot of people think that so far. Again, I've only seen the first episode, and again, the animation and the art style really didn't do it for me. And the way they just kind of threw people in the middle of like start lore dumping and just throwing things, like it was a bit much for me. But maybe it explains itself a bit more. Maybe the setup happens in the next few episodes. So again, because it's so popular, I do want to give it another 2 episodes and see how I feel about it. But if you're saying best shown in the season so far, like I said, good words are hopefully a good sign too. He goes on to say, Kaguya-sama Season 2, good as ever. Kaguya-sama, Love is War, I really like the first season, and any repeat season shows or shows that are continuing, I will talk about in the next one. So Kaguya-sama, I really like that, the first season, so I will probably definitely be jumping into season 2. So again, that's probably next week when I'll be talking about that. And then lastly, he says, Aparre-Ranman is cool, bright, fun. And I made a little note there that when I looked up Aparre-Ranman, it's hard to say that out loud. It reminded me of Wacky Races. The setup in the trailer that I saw was that it's kind of like there's a race going on, but with the cars all look like Mad Max / Looney Tunes inspired. Like they're all over the top, and there's it looks like kind of a death race meets Looney Tunes kind of thing. It looks really wacky and really it looks like a lot, which is why again there's like this nice calm in between that I really am comfortable with, and so it just looked. So you mentioned again in your comment, it's bright, it's cool, bright, fun, and I think if it was just cool fun, then maybe I'd be down. But that it's bright, it's like, oh man, too bright for me. I need. I'm very vulnerable in these quarantine hours, and so I need a relaxing kind of chill stuff. So. But if you're saying it's really cool, I'm glad you're enjoying it. And then very lastly, he says, and the isekai junk food, of course. So isekai, again, to repeat, isekai is a genre of anime where usually people from our world will show up in fantasy worlds. and I don't know what isekai shows are going on right now, but but you're very aware that it's kind of just popcorn fun. It's good to just throw in the background. I don't know if I have the time to put something on like that in the background, but recently I did catch the Konosuba movie, which is an isekai kind of which is an isekai, of course. So I'm not watching any new isekai shows, but I did see that latest isekai movie again, Konosuba, and yeah, that was a lot of fun. But I don't know if I could talk about it because it goes places. And those are all the comments I have. Again, we're in the spring season. It's really exciting to have all these new shows, and again, all I need to do is really get myself to remind myself that there's a lot of shows on Netflix too that I can check out. So hopefully I can share some of my thoughts on that next week. But yeah, that's it for this week, and my quick recap. Again, what it looks like I'll be talking about for the rest of the season at least will be my thoughts on Tower of God, if I do continue that. Seeing Yesterday for me, which again, so far is like anime of the season because I'm really enjoying it. Maybe one more episode, I'll give a recap of 22/7, since that looks like it's going to have one more episode. I will keep talking about Digimon, and then next week the topic of the week will be should be a focus on returning shows. So we're looking at Kaguya-sama season 2 at least. ReZero, I don't know, that was supposed to come back, but I don't know if it's going to come back after all because there might be a delay because coronavirus apparently. And so tentatively talking about returning shows next week, but if there's a delay on all these, then I might switch it up. But I guess you will find out next week, so with that, I'll end the recap for this week. Thanks again for listening in. We have lots of anime hours on our hands these days with Corona. Everybody's staying inside. I hope y'all are staying safe. And as we, ease out of the show, I just want to say thank you again, Grimecraft, for your lending us your track, Lonely Rolling Star Remix, in cooperation with Game Chops. A nice chill beat to get through these less chill times. Thanks again for listening, guys. Catch you all next time.